Are you serious? Are you serious? You know, the third temple looks like is on the table of this Middle East peace deal. I'm getting information. I don't want to say nothing else about that. But just Jared Kushner is in the Middle East right now. He's going to meet with six nations. Okay, Turkey's one of them. Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar. Okay, there's six nations there. All right, Bahrain, and he's talking to them about this Middle East peace deal, and he's going to give them private revelation of how this thing's going to work. Now, this is huge because there's an article just came out about 4 hours ago written by Sebastian Ketley over at the UK Express. I'm in the article as well as Dr. Irvin Baxter and others. People are starting to realize this third temple is coming, and there are signs that are leading us in that direction. Matter of fact, the Bible even tells us. Let me read the article, okay? Let me read this for you. Jerusalem, third temple. All right, prophecy. Jerusalem, third temple, prophecy. How the third temple will trigger the end of the world. That is the title of the headline. Now, the third temple of Jerusalem is a prophetic sign of the approaching apocalypse. Doomsday preachers have warned, as rumors circulate, the Jewish house of worship is about to be rebuilt. It's very important that I put this out there. The building of the temple does not bring about doomsday. It's not like they dedicate it one day and it's doomsday the next. There is several things that must take place leading up to the building of the temple, which is happening right now so fast you can't keep up. And then there's several things that has to happen after the building of the temple, okay? Including people coming to Jerusalem to worship the King and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. I think people need to understand. Everybody freaks out and thinks about the Antichrist. Yeah, eventually he shows up, but there's a whole lot of stuff that's got to go on, guys, leading up to that moment. And that's why they're writing these articles. And I'm going to tell you now, President Donald Trump is not only the man for America, obviously, because of the tremendous prosperity and growth and oh, by the way, standing up there on the State of the Union and declaring that all children, all babies, born and unborn, are made in the image of the holy image of God, his words, the holy image of God. He has done more to protect the unborn than any other president we've had in history, and he's continuing to fight for the Americans' prosperity and peace and opportunities for this great nation. He is God's man for several reasons, even if it wasn't, if it had nothing to do with the Middle East, just America alone. And I'll be speaking at a Trump rally, actually. It's actually called the Trump Club down in the Villages on Monday night, May the 4th. If you want to come to that, it's open to the public. It's in the Villages. And it's the Trump Club. They expect 500-600 people, and it'd be a tremendous presentation on the Middle East and Trump's role in the Middle East from a prophetic standpoint. I think if you ever want to hear, I'm going to have full presentation, PowerPoint presentation, the whole thing. It's going to probably be the most important speech I've ever given in my life on biblical prophecy, President Trump, the Middle East peace plan, okay, all of that. But let me get back to the article here. And oh, by the way, I just did a Patreon video that is just phenomenal. And you have to go watch it. It has to do with the biblical signs that are taking place right now in Egypt that are pointing to the building of the third temple and the end of days. So you have to check that out. That's at Patreon. I've got so much going on right now, I can't keep up. But I want to share this one with you guys right here on YouTube. Check this out. The article goes on to say this: the arrival of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem in Israel will precede the second coming of Jesus Christ and the end of the world. Doomsday preachers and conspiracy theorists who believe in the end time predictions fear the third temple will soon rise up. If built, the third temple of Jerusalem will be the third to hold the title after the destroyed Solomon's temple and the rebuilt second temple. Now, earlier in 2018, the Jewish Council of the Sanhedrin committed an offering or a dedication to the stone altar that will be used in the third temple. Now, the event, which occurred one day after Hanukkah, on December 11th sparked concerns that biblical prophecy has begun to unfold. And according to Christian evangelist and Pastor Paul Begley of Indiana, the secrets of the ancient Jewish temple are now being revealed to the world. In an online sermon called The Coming Apocalypse, the firebrand preacher said ancient balsam trees used to make the biblical balsam or balm of Gilead have returned to Israel. And they have. Guys, I've been to the farm called the Balm of Gilead Farms, and I show you how that's done in my television show that aired just last Sunday night. And if you go to my YouTube channel, you can watch it, okay? Now, the miraculous, and so these guys are watching my television show, and that's great. The miraculous balsam trees were used to create the sacred balm and aromatic incense in the Jerusalem temple of old. That's true, on the golden altar, and it was. Now, today, the renewed farming of the balsam tree and the dedication to the third temple could be a sign prophetic change is afoot. It is a sign. I promise you. There were no balsam trees. Now there's an orchard growing with them, and the Sanhedrin officials went to the Balm of Gilead farm since I was there, since I met Guy Ehrlich, and they've now sanctioned him to make the dedication ointment, the apothecary, the sacred incense that will be used for the dedication of that third temple and to be used on the golden altar. The first holy temple of Jerusalem was raised from the ground on the city's ancient temple mount centuries ago. Solomon's temple was completely destroyed by the Babylonian King Nebuchadnezzar back in 586 BC. We know that, in a siege of Jerusalem. The second Jerusalem temple was then reconstructed, remodeled, and that was King Cyrus who allowed that second temple to be restructured and refurbished. King Cyrus, whom President Trump is compared to, and there's even a coin now made called with President Trump and King Cyrus on the cover or on the face of that half shekel, called the temple coin. Guys, you can't make this stuff up. It's happening that fast. Get this. Today, scores of conspiracy theorists believe that the temple reconstruction will signal the arrival of the end times. Oh, we're not conspiracy theorists. We're biblical prophetic scholars and theologians. We know it is signaling that we're in the end times. Matter of fact, in a particular doomsday prophet, the Dr. Irvin Baxter. Now, he's not a doomsday prophet, but okay, this is what it says. They say that Irvin Baxter of the End Time Ministries believes the third temple will reappear in the final 7 years of the world's existence. That is what he preaches. Matter of fact, he said that during my televised interview of him last fall. And you can get that on my DVDs if you go to my website. Get the Final Days Prophecy, a 4 DVD set where I'm interviewing Dr. Irvin Baxter. 4 DVDs you can get on that. 4 different specific subjects of the end times. It's probably the best 4 DVDs. And then I think it's only $25. That's freight is free. The shipping's free. So, I mean, it's probably the best. If you want to understand the last days, that's probably the best interview ever done between 2 biblical prophecy scholars. And I won't call myself a scholar, but I will. Okay, so I just did accidentally, but I meant it. Dr. Irvin Baxter is the scholar and does a great job, as many others do. Many others. Look, the late Dr. Chuck Missler, he was all over this. Dr. Jack Van Impe, he's all over this. Okay? Perry Stone, he knows this is happening. Bill Salas, he knows. Carl Gallups, he knows. L.A. Marzulli, they know. Look, guys, they're all over this. But the third temple is mentioned in the Bible's book of Daniel, chapter 9:27, where Scripture speaks of the Antichrist entering into the temple during that period of tribulation. And that is true, and that's going to happen. It's known as the abomination of desolation. Now, we'll read on here. It says, Dr. David Reagan, you may know who he is, of Lamb and Lion Ministries, he explained. that the Apostle Paul mentioned it when he declares that the man of lawlessness will profane the temple by entering in and declaring himself to be God. That's in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 3 and 4. He's correct. And the third temple is also mentioned in the book of Revelation, when John is told to measure it, a symbolic way of telling him to assess its spiritual condition. Revelation 11, verses 1 and 2. And according to the preacher, the third temple will most likely arrive at the start of the apocalypse in humble form. Okay? He said, talking about myself, said the third temple will start off as a tent, much like the biblical tabernacle of Moses, before it takes a more permanent shape. That's what Dr. Reagan believes. I'm not so sure of that. Okay? Could be, but I don't think so. Anyway, the pastor Begley said that the book of Zechariah speaks of everybody going to Jerusalem to worship the king in the temple, a reference to the return of the Messiah. Where did I get that? Let me read it. Zechariah 14, verse 16. Check this out. And it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, capital King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay? And it shall be that whosoever will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. A curse will come upon them if they don't come to worship the Messiah. Where? In Jerusalem, in the third temple, during the Feast of Tabernacles. So you have to understand, folks, this temple is not just, this isn't the house for the Antichrist. This is the house for Jesus Christ. And people misunderstand this. And a lot of biblical scholars, they have a lot of what's called the replacement theology. They think that Christianity replaced all the Jews. Okay, that's not it. We got grafted in to the Jewish natural branch. We're the wild olive branches that got grafted in with the natural. Now, there's a lot they still got to learn, and they're going to understand about the coming Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach. They're going to understand he's the Messiah. And we got a lot to learn, like worshiping during the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay, so there's a lot still yet to be learned. There's a lot of reasons. We're in the last days. Christ is coming for his bride. We don't know the day nor the hour, but he's definitely coming for the bride. But it's important that people start to understand that the biblical scriptures are coming to pass. And of course, Dr. Reagan then said in Jerusalem, it will result in a provision of a very large level area where the millennial temple can be constructed. Well, we saw that new Jerusalem coming down from God out of heaven. It says that right there in the book of Revelation. Okay? It's coming. Christ is coming. And the Mount of Olives are going to split in half. And the water is going to flow from the hinder sea to the former sea. That's right there in the book of Zechariah. It's going to happen. The king is coming. I would like to be standing on the Mount of Olives when the Lord comes back. I really would. But whether I am or not won't matter. I'm ready. Are you? Is the question. Check out my Patreon channel. I just did another video from another article that just broke a few hours ago. Find out what's going on. Plus, I got a whole lot of other information and teaching on it that I didn't have a chance to even bring out yet. So check it out. It's all at my Patreon channel. Thank you, guys. I'm going to keep bringing stuff forward here on YouTube as fast as I can. It's happening too fast now. Guys, we're in the last days. Are you serious? Are you serious?